Hey guys, today's video is going to be why sin takes your pain away. So, God will take you through a process that will develop your character. So, this is where cultivation, sanctification, edification, the list goes on, discipleship, all that is established and is firm. When you yield to God to the extent He needs to develop you, you will receive your recompense according to what God wants. This is so important. You have to yield yourself to the extent that God needs in order to develop you, and you will receive your recompense according to what God wants. A lot of people don't like this because they're like, listen, if I'm going to give myself all the way, you're going to have to give me some of what I want. But sometimes God will not give you what you want. He will give you what He wants for you. When you yield to the temporary rest of the enemy, you can instantly get what you want. But in the process, you are telling God, wait, I don't want this or you anymore. That's why it seems like the endeavor retracts. But when you go back and you tell God you want Him, you may get a brief moment of rest. But God will not move you forward until you perceive, understand, grow, and strengthen in that area. This is why it seems like folks be giving their life to Christ and a whole bunch of warfare comes on. It's because God has to cultivate them and edify them. And a lot of time, because you was in witchcraft, you was in sorcery, God is not going to sit here and be like, okay, no, you a gangster. You too much of a gangster, so you should be able to handle it. You see what I'm saying? This is why a lot of people, when they give their life to Christ, they carry warfare for their head. They be going through so much warfare. And it's because they have a sort of gangster that they have already fulfilled in and of itself. So why is this so important? Because the enemy will now come and try to give you rest to try and cause you to believe that you can escape that. But God is saying that when you come right back to Him, you're going to resume right where you left off. Even if God gives you a brief moment of rest. This is how the enemy causes delay. Sometimes the delay is not a spiritual thing, it's a you thing. You don't want to fulfill the full process, the prophecy, whatever the case may be. And you keep bailing out, you becoming lukewarm. This is why God says those who are lukewarm, He will spit out. There's only so much of this wavering and back and forth that God knows that you are capable of before now you are taking it too far. And you start to stray away and you start to desire more of the enemy. And that is not where God will spit you out. So why am I saying this? Because sometimes we believe that we can establish rest on our own. We can establish peace on our own. The list goes on. And that in and of itself will not cause God to spit you out. When you start to choose the enemy more, you know, a lot of times we're like, man, maybe I am going to be better off over there. But then you come back because you're like, sheesh, that was not true. And you're able to tell that that was a lie. That was from the devil. I don't feel that way. That's why you end up back here. But when you keep going back and forth, God will see your heart and God will give you to do that which is inconvenient because you're not really for Him. You're not really with Him. And that is now where you will find yourself experiencing the manifestation of delay that has been invoked by you. Because instead of you weathering the storm, you know, sometimes, and this was something that even me, I had to realize. Sometimes you say, listen, this is too hard. I'm going to be wavering back and forth so much because I'm going to try to establish something myself, but I can't leave God. So I'm going to be coming back. So you have to be able to understand yourself and understand like, oh, this is a time where the enemy would want me to waver. And you ground yourself in the word. This is why if you didn't see my last video about generators and things like that, whatever is in you is now going to start to manifest to the surface. So when you yield to God, you will find that you're grounded, you're rooted, even when you're in pain, even when you're uncomfortable, even when you want to take matters into your own hands. But a lot of people, they choose the enemy. And that's why it seems like oh, I have to sin in order to feel better. But what you're doing is you're stepping out of the provision and the protocol. You're deeming what's evil good and what's good is evil. So you're going towards something that's evil, and the good thing is retracting, but your perspective is backwards. You see what I'm saying? You're thinking that you're going towards what's good and you're leaving behind what's evil. This is why you have to plug to the secret place and allow God to cultivate you and edify you. Because you see how you can bear the burden of carrying this warfare for your head because you did way too much. And a lot of times you doing way too much and the way that you did it does not edify you. It doesn't teach you. So it's like you're bound to be stepping away. You see what I'm saying? This is why sometimes it seems like God is taking you through the process. It's taking too long. The tests are too hard. But I don't know who that was for. I know that was for me. Be grateful that you're passing through. Because there are a lot of people that come out the sorcery, they come out the divination, they come out the necromancy, they come out all these abominations, and they get thrown into the warfare head first, and God is like, if you float, you float. You know? Because there's a certain thing that they did. There's a certain way that they live their life. Now they have to be recompensed unto that. So even though they're in the kingdom, they have to bear some burdens that are very, you know what I'm saying? They real, you know? So normally someone who is spiritually asleep will not perceive this cycle. Some hate God or detest God because the way he is edifying them, they do not like it. But God sees the future and knows what you will be up against and have been up against. This is why he chooses the battles he chooses. God does not keep us from hardship, he takes us through it. So anytime you're going through something, this is so important because a lot of times people fight certain types of warfare not understanding that this is something they've been up against. They just had no idea. And God is now awakening you to what's been going on. Now God is trying to take you to a place where he's strengthening you and he's edifying you. So even though he'll be fighting these battles that are bigger than you, he won't have to keep you in the dark and kind of secretly kill a spider in order to protect you. He strengthens you so that you can behold the glory that comes from these type of victories. And a lot of people walk away. A lot of people back down and allow the enemy to just give them whatever they want in the meantime. But the glory that they behold is so much greater. It's like you're selling your glory feast for a morsel of the enemy. You're selling your glory feast, something that will edify you, cultivating you, vindicate you, potentially even sanctify you. You see what I'm saying? For a morsel that will not do any of that besides give you that temporary comfort. This is why sin eases you, because you're looking for sin. You're not looking for God. You're looking for temporary pleasure instead of eternal glory. You're looking for easy things. You're looking for things that will ease you instead of being the one who eases, instead of being the one who brings forth the glory. You're looking for someone to shine their light on you so you don't have to do anything besides being the one that has to carry that light and go into the dark places. This is one of the easiest ways the enemy infiltrates that antichrist agenda in your life. So it don't matter how much you say, Lord, Lord, Lord. Lord ain't gonna do nothing for you because he's not Lord. I don't know who that was for. But when you start living your life like that, Jesus is not Lord anymore in your life. So you see how I've been talking about this before in my previous video. You can live a certain life where by default you renounce God. You can't be then crying out, Lord, Lord, Lord. Finish off what you started. So you're going to find yourself back in that place of warfare, back in that place, you know. But because people are spiritually blind, they cannot perceive what God is doing. So guess what happens? They leave again. But when you're awakened to what's happening, you know that mourning is godly. That pain is godly. And you will start to learn, you know what? I gotta be comfortable not knowing. And guess what? You will start to see that your sadness turns to meekness. You will start to see your discomfort turns into rest. You know, sometimes you find yourself uncomfortable, you can't sleep. You will start to rest. You will start to become someone who sleeps on the bottom of the boat just like Jesus. And this is what God wants. And that is what sanctifies you. That's what closes that door. Those disciples didn't go on the boat 700 times.